Squirrels! So hello, and welcome to another Legends of Runeterra video. My name is Chris. Today we've got Senna's revealed, so let's see what Senna is going to do.
For the dead, I bring rest.
Senna is a 5 mana, 4/4, quick attack, the old kindred stat line. When I'm summoned or attack, create a darkness in hand if you don't have one. Your damage and kill spells accelerate to fast. Is that like a separate thing? Level up is I've seen you slay 3+ units with spells or an allied Lucian dies. I mean, I don't think you're going to be playing Lucian, right? Unless there's a new Lucian as well. Unless it's like a Lucian follower. That would be quite interesting. So when I'm summoned or attack, create a darkness in hand if you don't have one. So obviously this is where the synergy is meant to come in. I think this is very good because, you know, one of the things that we said yesterday was that darkness, obviously there wasn't many ways to get many darknesses, which felt pretty bad. But this is obviously going to be what you want to do. Now, your damage and kill spells, I don't, you know, we've talked about right wording before. Accelerate to fast. So does this mean that your slow speed, like, what if it's burst speed? Do they become fast as well? You know, is everything fast? Obviously, it means for, like, the darkness, because darkness is a slow spell, that it becomes fast speed, which is very, very good, by the way. That's, like, insanely good. But does this mean you get, like, a fast speed ruination? I don't know. Does this, you know, does Senna mean that, you know, even things like it says damage spells. Does this count like even decimate? Something like that? Is that a damage spell? It is in my mind. So is that a fast speed spell all of a sudden? I don't think you used it because it's a Shadow Isles, but yeah.
Say I got a life wish.
Hello, love.
Feels good to hear that again. Ready to fire! Demacian sends its regards. Eyes forward.
Burn away the shadows.
Ooh. Now that card, the drain 2 from 2 enemies at fast speed, is a very scary card.
Sentinels, carry the darkness! Fight for the light!
So, the level up. Create darkness sound. Your damage and kill spell accelerate to fast and cost 1 less. God. This seems like the kind of thing that could be just completely broken. You know, it's the kind of thing on custom LOR where people have made many designs of like, oh, this spell becomes fast speed, and everyone goes, no, this would never be in the game because, you know, this would be broken and that would be broken. Well, it looks like they've done it. I mean, it's interesting. Very interesting. Because how much do you go in for it? Because Senna is the only one who can give you that effect. Do you actually play those slow spells? Because what if you don't draw Senna? It's quite interesting, you know, like if... Well, I'm a bit worried about Senna because I feel like Senna is either going to be like not great or really good. And I don't know. I don't know which one it will be. When I'm summoned or attack, create a darkness in hand. I mean, she has to be pretty good. The darkness is a pretty good thing. And if there's more cards as well that create darkness, feels pretty good. And the costing of 1 less of things as well. It's pretty nice. We'll see if there's like card generation, because, you know, often when you have things that cost, like you're making them cost 1 less, what you want is obviously as many cards as you can so that you get the benefit as much as you can. But very interesting.
Come out and play.
Don't have any warning shots. What was it like, Senna, to die? Not like living. Pain, fear, and hope. Bury fear, bury doubt.
Clever. Good use. still got 5 mana. This is definitely second decimate.
And light.
Oh, but you've attacked. Oh, good
Guess
job.
I looked right first. Turn it against them.
Drain 5 from a unit? Is that what this card said?
Battle's done. Back to the war.
Drain 5 from a unit. It did say it. We'll go on over to Mobilithics to look at the rest of the cards. Okay, so let's talk about these cards. Looks like we've got Senna's champion spell here, which is Senna's Dawning Shadow, which is 7 mana slow speed spell. Kill an enemy and give all enemies -2 this round. Create a Senna in your deck. Wow, okay. So, obviously it goes pretty well with Senna. I don't think you'd play this over Vengeance, just because obviously without Senna it's slow speed. And I think Vengeance being fast speed is a very big deal. Obviously, like, comparing this to Vengeance is very good. But I think that this is obviously it's a very good champion spell for Senna to have, because Senna is going to make it fast speed for you. So you essentially get a better Vengeance, which is good. You know, that's a good thing to have as your champion spell. And quite interesting. Like, this whole archetype is going to be very interesting, and it seems like it could be pretty strong. And I've seen on the level up. Do you need to level Senna up? My only issue is with 4 attack, you know, it's possible that you might not be able to attack with Senna. What's interesting as well, though, is, of course, I think you do need to be in Bandle City, though, because whilst Vinegar himself is dual region, a lot of the cards that made the darkness, you know, good, like the reduced cost one and the creating of the darkness and, you know, making them deal 1 more damage, those were all just Bandle City cards. So I do think you're probably going to have to play Bandle City Shadow Isles for it to work and to be good, but this seems like it could be pretty decent. And I really like that as a champion spell. I'm not sure you'd play it as this card on its own, but maybe I could be wrong. Probably, yeah, you don't want more than like 3 Vengeance, I don't think. Des and Ada is an 8 mana 7/6 in Shadow Isles. When I'm summoned, create a darkness in hand if you don't have one. Your next darkness this round costs 0 and deals 2 to all enemies. Seems a bit slow. Like, I think in like what you want to be doing with this deck, I think, is just finding ways to just create darkness after darkness after darkness. So I think that this is gonna be a little slow. Like, I think that the ideal will be that you'll play, like, you know, just constantly playing darkness. You know, you won't need this necessarily. At an 8 mana card, because hopefully you just start, like, the hope is obviously that they don't have anything really on board by turn 8. You know, the hope is that you've just controlled them out, I think, by turn 8. I think that that's kind of the hope of what's going on here. Piercing Darkness is a really interesting card. Drain 5 from a unit. Like, it's pretty alright. It's pretty alright. It obviously gets a lot better when you've got Senna down on the board. Is it better than, like, Withering Mist, though? Would you rather drain 2 from 2 units or 5 from 1? Obviously, I guess you could say that that's somewhat meta dependent, but I think generally speaking, the drain from 2 is better. And because Senna is the only thing that's going to make it fast, you know, it is somewhat risky, but I think this could be a one-off. You know, I don't think you'd put more than 1 in, but it could be a one-off. I like Withering Mist, I think, a bit better. Uru Sentinel is a 3 mana 3/3. In Shadow Isles, the first time you slay a unit with a spell, grant me 2/1. So a 3 mana 5/4 with Fearsome. Does he need to have seen this? I think so. I think that you have to play this and then get that. But that seems pretty good either way. Like, it's a 3 mana 3/3. You know, you're in Shadow Isles, so you've got, like, you know, Vile Feast, and you've got, you know, obviously the darkness is kind of what you're going for, but obviously you've got all the spells that you'll need. And this obviously just goes in like a lot of decks, you know, like if there's any go hard decks, you know, it goes in that. If anytime you can get this off, I think this is a good card. And with Fearsome as well, like a 3 mana 5/4, that seems pretty good. Yeah, seems pretty good. Seems like a pretty good, but I think they do have to have seen this. If not, then it's even better. But I'm pretty sure they have to have seen this. But even so, it's still a 3 mana 3/3, so it's not the end of the world. It's like if you don't have a good 3-drop option, which Shadow Isles doesn't have the best 3-drops, to be fair. Like it has Doom Beast. That's kind of it. But so in that kind of like slower decks, this seems like a decent option. Demacian Sentinel is a 1 mana 1/2 with Fearsome. The first time you slay a unit with spell, grant me 2/1. So this is a 1 mana 3/3. This one I feel less great about. Like 1 mana 3/3s, obviously we've seen with like Jagged Butcher as well. But this one doesn't trade as well. You know, they play Jagged Butcher on 1, you play this, you have to wait. You know what I mean? Whereas this is a 3/3, like it trades with pretty much every 3-drop. You know, even Merciless Hunter, that crazy card. This will trade with it in its normal form. So I feel if this was a 2/1 that became a 3/3, I'd feel better about it. But as a 1/2, I feel worse about it because if they play Butcher or really, you know, anything with 2 health, you know, they play Crackshot Corsair and they get to attack, you know, and you can't trade with it. So yeah, just feels a bit bad. Moving on. Watcher of the Isles is a 4 mana 2/4 each round. The first time you slay a unit with a spell, deal 2 to the enemy nexus. I love this card. Whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. It is only once per round. Nah, it is only once per round. Maybe it's not as crazy as I thought. But at first I was like, oh my god. But again, this could see some play. You know, the 2/4 start, the 4 health is like good for units that you want to like stick around. Not sure it'll fit in with the darkness because you probably want Veigar in there instead, in that 4 mana slot. But something like Ezreal, Shadow Isles, go hard, something like that. I could see this kind of making its way in there. You know, like a bit of a chip damage, that kind of thing. I could see something like this making it in there. Kind of a cool little neat card. Mist Keepers is a 5 mana 3/4 each round. The first time you slay a unit with a spell, summon an ephemeral Mist Wraith. This one is an odd card, and for a 5 mana 3/4, this one doesn't feel like it because like, why would like why do you want Mist Wraiths in these decks, especially ephemeral ones? Like I get it that it's a blocker or whatever, but you know, you're paying like a big tempo loss for a 5 mana 3/4, and then like, you know, it's not like you're in a Mist Wraith deck, you know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, probably not on that one. Extali Sentinel is a 6 mana 4/5. When I'm summoned, create a darkness in hand if you don't have one. When you play your next darkness this round, copy it, targeting the enemy nexus. Now this seems like a card that you would play in this deck. 1, it obviously generates darkness, which is great. 2, you know, if you've got your darkness really high, you could potentially win, and it's got lifesteal. And lifesteal is a good keyword. So this one seems good. This one seems pretty strong. So I think you definitely will probably play this. And Solari Sentinel. When I'm summoned, is the 3 mana 3/2. When I'm summoned, create a darkness in hand if you don't have one. So it's simple 3 mana 3/2 that gives you a darkness. Now I think that's pretty good. Wow, you're not going to struggle for darkness in this. Wow, so that card that reduces the darkness cost is going to be really important. You know, that card's going to be really important in this deck because you're going to need, because now, you know, yesterday we were like, oh, there's barely any ways to create darkness. Now it's like, well, you know, we're creating darkness every turn. You know, we've got like a full curve of, you know, this whole darkness thing. And so that one that reduces the cost of darkness seems really important. Even more important now, because now you're going to be creating these darknesses. So if you can get the darkness to be a 1-cost card, wow, that feels really good. Because then you can just, you know, spam your whole deck essentially. And finally, Catalog of Regrets. I'm guessing this is a landmark. It just doesn't say it. 4 mana landmark, round start. Create in hand a fleeting copy of a non-fleeting spell you cast last round. 4 mana, round start. Create in hand a fleeting copy of a non-fleeting spell you cast last round. Oh, so you can't like just constantly use the same spell. Is for 4 mana? I mean, if the game is really slow, you could maybe get away with this. It has to be slow, but I think if the game slows down a lot, you know, you could maybe get away with this. Ezreal again seems like a good. I obviously would want this kind of effect. You do have to, you know, be careful. But if the game is super slow, if the game is like, if you can guarantee that the game is going to round 10, you know, this becomes better. But I think you have to be somewhat secure in where you are, which might be a bit difficult. But it could be okay. Could be okay. Maybe as a one-off in certain decks, particularly if the meta is a bit slower. So let's go back to Senna and just quickly talk about Senna again. As I say, I don't really know if you need to level up Senna. To be honest, I don't think you'll be playing Senna with Lucian. I think you're going to be in this Darkness deck. Because looking at those other cards, and it's possible you could be in, you know, Darkness. You could be outside of Veigar and go for something else. But I think that, you know, just going for the hand-in-hand synergy is probably the best way to do this. It seems like quite an interesting little deck. To be honest, it seems like, you know, Senna seems decent. I am a bit worried about the 4/4 stat line. That, you know, attacking with Senna as a 4/4 isn't great. But then you don't even need, like, making your spells fast speed just makes Senna a threat. You know, your opponent needs to get rid of Senna, really. Like, they really need to get rid of Senna. Yeah, and I don't think that Senna needs to really level up, you know. She only really gets the cost 1 less thing, which is like a nice bonus, but it's not like crazy. So Senna, I think, is pretty good. This is one of those where I'm becoming a believer in this archetype. You know, it seems like we've got a nice curve for it now as well. So let's start giving some ratings. Senna, I think I'm gonna give like a 7, maybe a 7.5. But could be really scary. If someone finds the right combo, though, where, you know, making stuff fast speed and they just go crazy with it, could be even better. Because obviously you can respond. You know, they go in to kill your Senna, but you just play like your 3 go-hards or whatever at fast speed, or you play all of your cards that were slow at fast speed now. You can just respond, which is quite nice. So Senna, yeah, like a 7.5, something like that. Dawning Shadow, as I said, I don't think you'll main deck this, but I think as a champion spell it's really good, because it will be fast speed anytime you've got the champion spell version of it. But the card itself, I'd probably give like a 6. You know, it's not bad, but I'd give it like a 6. Death and Ardor, again, I think 8 mana. I mean, it is a 7/6, which is an okay stat line, but I don't think you'll need this card. I think this is probably like a 5, you know, on turn 8, like dealing 2 to all enemies, like just, you know, you want that effect when Avalanche comes down, you know, on turn like 3 and 4 when things have 2 health, not on turn 8 when things have 8 health. Piercing Darkness, drain 5 from a unit, could be very useful. I think again at slow speed, and I'm rating this card, you know, on its own, separate from, you know, when you've got Senna down. I think that this is like a 5.5. You could see it as a one-off in certain decks, and in certain metas, it might be good enough. And obviously, when Senna is down, it's really good. Boo's Sentinel is I think just a good card. I think this is like a 7.5. You do have to seed the unit slayed, but at least it's a 3-mana 3/3, and then, you know, it becomes like a 5/4, and that's gonna, you know, hopefully stick around on the board for a little while. Also, if you know, mid combat can slay a unit, you could almost use it like a combat trick of this ability. which is quite nice. Demacian Sentinel I'm less high on though because of that 1-2 stat line, so I'd give this like a 4. Watcher on the Isles I think could be a slot in for some decks. This is like a 5.5 though. Like, you know, if you can find the specific synergy for this, it could be pretty nice. But it is a bit of a tempo loss. Mistkeepers I'm not a fan of. Like, I just don't think that this card really makes that much sense. This is like a 3. Extali Sentinel I think is pretty good, so I'd give this like a... I think this is like a... maybe even an 8. This is going to level up Veigar Vinegar, man. You know, because it's doing 2. This is going to level him up, you know, pretty quick. So yeah, this is an important card, I think. Solari Sentinel as well, like a 3-mana 3/2 that gives you a good card in hand. It's just good. You know, that just feels pretty good. So I'd give this, you know, you'll play this in that deck, so it's like a 7. Catalog of Regrets, interesting card. You know, could be used in some sort of interesting combo deck, but we'll see. So I'd give this probably a 5. And that's it. That's it for today. I'm now a believer in this whole darkness archetype, but now that we can kind of create all these cards kind of, you know, reliably, I think it could be pretty good. But that's all from me today, so thank you so much for watching and have a really nice day.